Capricorn, don't scroll. Pause right there. Something has been moving in the atmosphere with your name on it. You didn't find this message by accident. Your spirit pulled it in. This is the sign you've been waiting for, the one heaven hid in plain sight until the right moment. Type, "It's my glory time," in the comments if your heart already feels this. Because I'm about to reveal what's been happening behind the scenes of your life, and by the time you reach the end, you'll understand why everything you went through was never random. Before you keep watching, hit that subscribe button, not because of me, but because something divine is about to unfold in your life, and you don't want to miss the signs that come next. This isn't just a message, it's an unfolding testimony being written as we speak. You've been feeling like life paused, like something big was supposed to happen, but time just froze midway through the sentence. You started wondering if you made a mistake, if you missed your timing, if heaven forgot your name. But God didn't stop writing your story, He's been editing it. Sometimes the divine author pauses, not because he's done, but because he's rearranging the sentences of your destiny. When a story is powerful, the writer takes their time with the details. And your life, Capricorn, is not a cheap story. It's a masterpiece being refined by divine hands that never make a mistake. You've been through seasons where it felt like everything you built collapsed overnight. Times where the people you trusted most walked away as though they were never part of your story. You felt the sting of disappointment that no one saw. You cried in silence because you didn't want to seem weak. You kept showing up, acting like everything was fine, but inside, you were fighting to keep faith alive. You kept telling yourself, maybe tomorrow will be better. But the tomorrows started blending into one another, and you began to wonder, does God even see me anymore? Let me tell you something that will make you tremble. Every pause in your life was strategic. Every delay was a comma, not a full stop. God was editing the timing of your testimony so it could align with divine order. You were never behind schedule. Heaven was synchronizing your breakthrough with purpose. Think about Joseph. His brothers threw him into a pit and sold him into slavery. To the world, it looked like his story ended, but the author hadn't closed the book. That pit became the preface to a throne. The betrayal was the ink that wrote his ascension. God paused his comfort to prepare his crown. The same thing happened with J.K. Rowling. Before she wrote Harry Potter, she was living on welfare, a single mother battling depression. Publishers rejected her story again and again, but every no was heaven whispering, not yet, because the moment her manuscript was finally accepted, it became one of the most world-shifting books in history. The same God who gave her the courage to keep writing is the same one scripting your next chapter. Your story isn't over. It's just paused at the most powerful moment, right before the plot twist. You might be in a strange silence right now. You might be wondering why everyone else seems to be winning while you're still waiting. But that silence is sacred. It's where God rewrites what others tried to erase. It's where He hides you while preparing to reveal you. You see, before David was king, he was just a shepherd boy. People overlooked him, mocked him, and forgot his name. But God saw him alone in the field, writing psalms no one had heard yet. The anointing that rested on him wasn't visible to men, it was written in heaven's ink. The field was not a setback, it was a hidden classroom. There's something unique about Capricorn energy. You're the builder, the climber, the one who doesn't quit when things get hard. You've had to work twice as hard for what others got easily, but that's because your blessings are designed to last. Temporary people, temporary fame, temporary opportunities, they don't belong in your story. God's writing something eternal through you. Every tear you've cried has become ink on heaven's manuscript. You've been misunderstood, misjudged, even underestimated. But that's because people read the draft version of your life. They never saw the edited one God was preparing. Capricorn, think of Abraham Lincoln. He faced failure after failure, lost elections, lost money, lost confidence, yet he kept believing in something bigger than himself. The world thought he was done, but history calls him one of the greatest presidents to ever live. Why? Because his story didn't end in the failures, it was rewritten through them. God uses what people call endings to create beginnings that no human could predict. You've had those endings too, relationships that broke, plans that fell apart, doors that slammed in your face. But what if those weren't endings? What if they were heaven's edits? You're watching this right now because something in your spirit has been unsettled. You've been sensing change without understanding it. The dreams, the synchronicities, the late-night restlessness, It's heaven rearranging your path. God doesn't just write with words, he writes through events, emotions, and encounters. You think your story has been delayed, but what if it's been divinely timed? Sometimes when God holds you back, it's not punishment, it's protection. He's making sure the page you turn doesn't lead to the wrong chapter. Do you remember when Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb? Every failure was a rehearsal for illumination. Every mistake was a hidden lesson written into his legacy. The same principle applies to your journey. The failures you've endured aren't wasted ink. They're building the paragraph where your victory will make sense. But here's the secret. God doesn't show you the full manuscript. He only gives you glimpses, so your faith becomes the pen that keeps the story moving. I know you've asked why the people you loved walked away when you needed them most, why the calls stopped, why the opportunities dried up, why you felt invisible. But sometimes God removes supporting characters so the spotlight can finally reach you. You've been a background hero in other people's stories for too long. It's time for your own plotline to take center stage. And even though you can't see it yet, your story is being rewritten in real time. The very people who dismissed you will one day say, "I always knew you'd make it." They'll forget the days they doubted your worth. You see, every great story begins with conflict. Every masterpiece begins with chaos. The pain you endured was never random. It was raw material for your revelation. Just like gold must go through fire before it shines, you had to go through darkness before your destiny could glow. That's why life felt heavy lately. It wasn't falling apart, it was falling into alignment. God was rearranging your pages. He's been rewriting your heartbreak into healing, your loss into legacy, your confusion into clarity. Think of Oprah Winfrey, fired from her first TV job because they said she was fit for television. That rejection became the rewriting of her destiny. She didn't let the editor of the world define her story, she let God take over. And now her name represents power, influence, and grace. You've faced similar moments. People told you weren't enough, that your dreams were unrealistic, that your time was over. But those voices were only temporary authors trying to scribble over your purpose. The true author never stopped writing your victory. And do you know what's even more powerful? The way God hides breakthroughs in breakdowns. Just like Job, he lost everything. Wealth, family, health. Everyone thought God abandoned him. But what they didn't see was that heaven was rewriting his testimony. At the end, God restored double for his trouble. That's what's being written in your script right now. You're in the middle of a divine reversal. The pain that almost destroyed you is about to become the proof that God was with you all along. Capricorn, comment Amen if this is hitting your spirit, because this message isn't meant to entertain. It's meant to awaken something ancient inside you. Your destiny is older than your pain. You've always felt like there was something different about you, haven't you? That deep sense of responsibility, that instinct to fix everything, that need to keep going even when you're tired. It's because you were chosen to carry a story that others would read and find faith again. God writes his strongest stories through his toughest soldiers. Let's talk about David again. Everyone saw a boy. God saw a king. When Samuel came to anoint him, his own father didn't even call him from the field. But God said, "Man looks on the outside, I look at the heart." That's the same thing happening to you. People judged you by your current chapter, but they don't realize how far along heaven's manuscript already is. God has written scenes for you that will leave even your enemies speechless. The same mouths that gossiped will one day testify. You might not believe it yet, but your name is being whispered in rooms you've never entered. Your work, your effort, your prayers, they're being mentioned in conversations you can't hear. God is positioning you in places that will surprise everyone who doubted you. Just like Joseph woke up one morning a prisoner and went to bed a prime minister, your elevation will happen in divine speed, but only when the author turns the page. Think of the painter Michelangelo sculpting David from a block of marble. People mocked him, saying it was impossible to make something beautiful from that broken stone. But he said, "I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free." That's what God is doing with you. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every disappointment, it's been him carving the masterpiece out of you. The pain wasn't punishment, it was the chisel. I can feel someone watching this who's been saying, "I'm tired. I've done everything right and it's still not happening." But listen, delay doesn't mean denial. It means development. God develops destiny in silence. That's why he's been quiet lately. When a writer pauses, it's not because they've stopped. it's because they're choosing their next words carefully. Heaven's next sentence for you is one of glory, favor, and unstoppable growth. You've been carrying burdens that weren't even yours to bear. You've tried to hold everyone together while secretly falling apart. But the reason God allowed those weights was to strengthen your foundation. You're not being punished, you're being positioned. You've learned endurance, resilience, and wisdom the hard way. Those lessons are the very tools you'll use to manage the blessings about to come. Capricorn, your patience has been your prophecy. The universe has seen your consistency. Every time you showed up when no one was watching, you activated a hidden blessing. You thought heaven was ignoring you, but it was recording you. Every unseen effort was documented. And now, the writer is preparing to publish your reward. The story is shifting. The ink is glowing. Something divine is unfolding, and you can feel it in your spirit. Do you remember when David stood before Goliath? Everyone saw a giant. David saw an opportunity. That's the mindset you're entering now. The things that once intimidated you will become the very things that introduce you. You've been trained in secret for public victory. The same way David's slingshot looked ordinary, your gifts might look small to others, but heaven is about to use them to make you unstoppable. Capricorn, God is writing your testimony in gold. You might not see it yet, but the angels are already rehearsing your celebration. Your enemies have read the first draft of your life, but they'll never see the final version. Because when the author finishes, no one can edit what he's written. Every heartbreak, every delay, every unanswered prayer, they were brushstrokes painting your legacy. Think of Tyler Perry. He wrote play after play that no one came to see, slept in his car, broke, hopeless, forgotten, but he kept writing. He didn't know it then, but he was living the chapter called preparation. Today, his name is etched in success and purpose. God turned his script of struggle into one of abundance. That's your reflection. You've been writing in tears, but heaven's about to publish your joy. You've come too far to quit now. The reason it's felt heavier lately is because you're nearing the turning point. The enemy fights hardest when the next sentence carries glory. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are simply in the rewriting room of destiny. Stay there. Let God finish the chapter. Don't rush the process. It's sacred. Now, as you listen to these words, feel this truth sink in. Something powerful is being aligned for you. The same doors that were once locked are trembling. The same names that rejected you are about to remember you. The author of your destiny is holding the pen again. The next sentence he writes will silence every doubt, every fear, every delay. But for now, he pauses, because the page about to turn is too powerful to reveal just yet. Capricorn, listen carefully. What if I told you that the pain you've been carrying wasn't a punishment, but a secret blueprint, that every sleepless night, every rejection, every closed door was actually heaven's way of protecting your next miracle? Don't scroll, because this message found you at the exact moment it was meant to. If your heart is racing right now, if your spirit feels a strange peace while hearing this, that's how you know heaven is speaking. Type "I receive it" in the comments and subscribe right now, not out of routine, but because something divine is being written through your life, and you cannot afford to miss the next confirmation that's coming your way. You've been wondering why life seems to give you the hardest lessons while others seem to glide through. You've asked why you had to lose what you loved, why you had to start over, why everything good seems to slip away just when you're close enough to touch it. But Capricorn, here's the mystery. God doesn't waste pain. Every tear you've cried has been collected as ink for the next chapter. You weren't being punished, you were being prepared. What looked like destruction was divine construction. Heaven has been rebuilding you from the inside out, carving something extraordinary out of your ordinary life. You've noticed that some people left you at your lowest point. People you helped when they had nothing suddenly went silent when it was your turn to need them. That silence broke your heart, didn't it? But it was necessary. God had to clear the stage so your spotlight wouldn't be shared with the wrong characters. Just like a director removes background actors before the main scene begins, heaven was removing distractions before your revelation. You thought you were alone, but you were being positioned for exposure. The hidden pain you endured in private was the rehearsal for your public reward. Let me show you something real. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first television job. They said she wasn't good enough, that she didn't fit the image. Imagine how she felt, humiliated, broken, uncertain of what to do next. But that moment of rejection was the rewriting of her destiny. God didn't let her settle in the comfort of someone else's vision. He pushed her out so she could build her own platform, one that would transform millions of lives. That same pattern is happening in yours. The job you lost, the opportunity that vanished, the door that shut in your face, it wasn't loss. It was redirection. Capricorn, sometimes God hides the blessing inside the breaking. That's why you had to lose people, places, and plans that you thought were permanent. He's not punishing you, he's pruning you. The vine must be trimmed before it bears fruit. You've been pruned because what's coming needs room to grow. You can't take old energy into new elevation. The things that were cut off weren't meant to die, they were meant to make space. You see, the reason it's been heavy is because you're not just living through change, you're becoming the change. You carry an anointing that intimidates mediocrity. You were never meant to blend in. That's why certain doors reject you, why some people misunderstand you, why environments feel uncomfortable now. It's not rejection, it's redirection to your rightful frequency. You're being tuned to heaven's rhythm. Do you remember the story of Job? He lost everything, his wealth, his children, his health. Everyone around him thought he was cursed, but Job never gave up on the author. He said, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him." That faith rewrote his destiny. At the end of his trial, God restored him double. The same principle is working in your life. The losses you suffered are being rewritten into restoration. You don't see it yet because heaven's edits are invisible until the masterpiece is revealed. Michelangelo carving the statue of David. When people saw the block of marble, they mocked him. They said it was ruined stone. But Michelangelo said, "I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free." That's exactly what God is doing with you. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every disappointment, it's him chiseling away what's not needed. The pain was never random, it was the process. He's been carving you into something divine, something that will stand the test of time. You've been asking why things are taking so long. Why do blessings seem to come to others faster? Why do your prayers feel unanswered? But here's what most people don't understand. Quick blessings often come with short lifespans. What God is building in you is permanent. Capricorns are builders. You're designed for legacy, not temporary success. You've been walking through tests that seem unfair because your reward won't just bless you, it'll shift your entire lineage. You're breaking generational curses silently, without applause, but heaven is recording every sacrifice. Think about Tyler Perry. Before he became who he is, he was homeless, sleeping in his car, trying to produce plays that nobody watched. For 7 long years, he kept failing. But what he didn't know was that God was strengthening his roots before growing his fruit. When the breakthrough finally came, it was unstoppable. The same pattern is happening to you. You've been in the dark, not because God abandoned you, but because he was building your foundation deep enough to hold the weight of your coming glory. Capricorn, you've had moments where you sat in silence, staring at nothing, feeling like your life made no sense anymore. You questioned everything, your purpose, your timing, your worth. You even tried to convince yourself to stop dreaming, to accept a smaller life. But something in you refused to die. That's your divine spark. The same power that resurrected Lazarus from the tomb is the same energy inside your spirit right now. God didn't let you quit because your purpose is louder than your pain. Let me tell you something you might not have noticed. Every time you hit rock bottom, somehow you always found a way out. Even when you didn't know how, something always showed up. An unexpected opportunity, a stranger's kindness, a sudden inner strength. That wasn't coincidence. That was divine orchestration. You've been guided more than you realize. Every detour had direction, every delay carried design. Heaven's hand has been writing in invisible ink all along. You've probably been feeling a strange stirring lately, a mix of exhaustion and expectation. That's the transition energy. You're leaving the old season of survival and entering the new one of manifestation. But here's what you must understand. Manifestation isn't magic, it's alignment. And you're being aligned right now, even through what feels uncomfortable. The people fading away, the opportunities slowing down, the silence you can't explain. It's heaven removing distractions from your path. Do you know what's powerful about Capricorn energy? It carries the vibration of Saturn, the planet of lessons, karma, and discipline. That's why your path has never been easy. You're built for mastery, not mediocrity. You've been refined through experiences that would have broken others. And because you didn't give up, heaven is preparing to elevate you in ways that will shock everyone who counted you out. Think about Steve Jobs. He was fired from Apple, the very company he founded. He went through humiliation, despair, and doubt, but instead of quitting, he went silent. he started building again. Years later, he returned stronger and turned Apple into one of the greatest success stories in history. What looked like his downfall was actually his redirection. God used rejection to rewrite resurrection. The same thing is happening in your story. You've been forced to restart, but what's coming next will be 10 times greater than what was lost. And maybe you're feeling forgotten. Maybe you've been watching everyone around you move forward while you're stuck in the same place. But hear me clearly, God hides his greatest works until the timing is perfect. You're not behind, you're being preserved. When Joseph was in prison, nobody knew he was next in line for promotion. He was hidden on purpose. And when the door finally opened, it happened overnight. One conversation changed everything. Your overnight moment is being written right now. Capricorn, I want you to understand this deeply. The delays you're facing are not random, they're divine. You're being held back only because heaven is synchronizing your breakthrough with people and places that haven't arrived yet. You're not waiting for God, he's aligning the details. You're not forgotten, you're being fitted for glory. You're not stuck, you're being stretched for capacity. The pressure you feel is proof of the promise preparing to manifest. When gold is refined, it's placed in fire. The heat reveals impurities, but it also activates brilliance. You've been in the fire not to destroy you, but to reveal you. The people who left couldn't stand the temperature of your transformation. That's why they disappeared. You're evolving, and not everyone can handle your next version. The old you was loyal to everyone. The new you is loyal to purpose. Capricorn, you might not realize it yet, but heaven has been testing your heart. Every situation that hurt you wasn't meant to break you, it was meant to expose what was within you. The betrayals were lessons, not losses. The heartbreaks were redirections, not rejections. Every time someone left, it revealed how strong your spirit really is. You were stripped so you could shine. Think of Nelson Mandela. He was imprisoned for 27 years. The world forgot his name. Yet in that cell he was being rewritten. His story wasn't finished, it was fermenting. And when he was finally released, he became a symbol of freedom for the entire world. The pain became power. The confinement became calling. That's what's happening with you. Your isolation isn't punishment, it's incubation. You've had nights where you couldn't sleep, where anxiety whispered lies to your mind, where fear told you it was too late. But those nights were sacred. You weren't alone, you were in the presence of destiny. Heaven often speaks loudest in the quietest moments. The stillness you hated was actually the sacred silence before manifestation. Every unanswered question will make sense soon. Capricorn, don't rush the process. You're in a divine rewrite. The things that didn't make sense last year are going to align like constellations. The pieces that didn't fit will suddenly click together. You're entering the season where the pain you survived becomes the platform you stand on. But before that page turns, there's one more thing you must understand. Your old identity can't go with you. The person who cried in the dark, who begged for answers, who settled for less, that version of you has served its purpose. You can't enter glory with the same mindset that endured grief. Heaven is rewriting your character, not just your circumstances. You're evolving into someone unstoppable, someone divine, someone whose story will heal others. Even your silence carries power now. People who once ignored you will start noticing. Doors that were closed will begin to unlock without effort. It's because your vibration has shifted. You're walking with heaven's pen now. Everything you touch will start to transform. Every word you speak will start to manifest. Every step you take will be guided by divine design. But remember this, God doesn't rewrite stories for those who rush. He finishes the ones who trust. Your trust has been tested, but your faith has been recorded. You've passed exams that heaven never announced. And now, something hidden is about to be revealed. The hand that once broke you is the same hand that's about to bless you. You're not hearing this by coincidence. You're hearing this because your next line is being written right now. The pain, the pause, the silence, it's all part of the divine edit. God has been erasing the unnecessary to highlight your destiny. And as you hear these words, somewhere above you, the sound of a pen scratching against eternal paper echoes through heaven. The story isn't finished yet, but the ink has started to glow. Capricorn, pause for a moment. Something powerful is moving in your direction. You can feel it, can't you? That stirring deep in your spirit, that sudden restlessness that has no explanation. That's the sound of your destiny rewriting itself. Before you go further, stop scrolling. Subscribe, follow, and keep your eyes on this message because before it ends, Your name will be whispered in rooms you've never entered. God is writing your testimony, and this time it's your glory season. For too long you've been the quiet one, the one who carries burdens without showing them, the one who smiles even when storms rage inside. But heaven saw the tears you cried when no one was watching. Heaven saw the doors that shut when you were qualified, the calls that never came, the dreams that almost died. And now, the same heaven that watched you endure is preparing to announce you. The waiting was never punishment, it was alignment. There's a reason your path felt harder. Every Capricorn who hears this has been walking a road where faith is tested, patience stretched, and loyalty misused. But what you didn't see was that God wasn't delaying your blessing, He was preparing your stage. Even in your silence, He was gathering witnesses for your rise. Sometimes, when God hides you, it's not rejection, it's protection from premature exposure. Think of David tending sheep while his brothers stood before Samuel. No one considered him qualified, yet while others were in the spotlight, he was mastering the sling in the shadows. When his moment came, the anointing couldn't flow on anyone else because it was reserved for him. Capricorn, your anointing is exclusive. That's why imitation never works against you. You've been tested because your crown is handcrafted. But here, where it gets prophetic, lately, you've been feeling drained, surrounded by confusion, and even small things seem to break your peace. You've been questioning your worth, your purpose, your timing. You've been asking God, what did I do wrong? But that storm isn't punishment, it's the final purge before your breakthrough. Like gold in the furnace, every betrayal, every delay, every loss has been refining you into someone unshakable. Do you remember when Oprah lost her job as a television reporter? They told her she wasn't fit for TV, but that rejection became her redirection. She went on to become one of the most powerful voices in the world. What if your disappointment was actually divine redirection? What if God had to close those doors so you'd find the one that leads to your empire? Capricorn, someone has been underestimating you, thinking your silence is weakness, but silence has always been your secret weapon. The greatest victories are birthed in stillness. Even Jesus was silent before the cross because divine power doesn't argue, it manifests. So while people were mocking you, heaven was plotting your manifestation. And soon, the same people who overlooked you will need your help. Something strange has been happening around you. The number 3, 7, or 11 keeps showing up. You wake up at 3:33, you glance at receipts with the same digits, or you see your birth date repeating everywhere. That's not coincidence, it's divine code. God is marking your timeline. You're in a spiritual alignment window where everything hidden will soon be revealed. The people who betrayed you will expose themselves without you saying a word. The opportunities that vanished will return multiplied. Have you noticed how lately you've been losing people who once felt like family? It hurts, but it's not loss, it's pruning. You can't carry expired energy into a new dimension. God has been rearranging your circle because your next blessing requires peace, not noise. Look back, every time you faced isolation, a new level followed. That's not random, that's divine mathematics. A woman once wrote to me saying she had lost everything, her marriage, her house, her job. For 6 months she felt invisible, but one day she found this message and felt a spark again. Within 3 weeks, she received a call for a job she never applied for in another city with double the salary. When she moved, she discovered her new boss was someone she had helped years ago without realizing it. Her kindness had circled back. Capricorn, your good deeds are seeds. Nothing you did in love is forgotten. Even history confirms this truth. Look at Nelson Mandela, locked away for 27 years. His world thought he was finished, but God was preparing him to lead a nation. Every delay in your life has purpose. You're not late, you're being positioned. When divine timing catches up with your preparation, you'll look back and say, now I understand why it took so long. And some of you have been dreaming strange dreams lately, standing near water, walking through old houses, seeing faces from your past. Those are spiritual signals. Water means cleansing. Old houses represent cycles closing. God is confirming that your past no longer has authority over you. You've crossed a spiritual bridge, and nothing from before can follow you into what's next. But you must do one thing now: stop doubting your power. The enemy doesn't attack the weak, he attacks the chosen. The reason you've felt so much pressure is because heaven is about to release something through you that will shake generations. Every sleepless night, every moment you almost gave up, was a sign you were birthing something big. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Imagine if he'd stopped there, he would have never become the legend we know. Capricorn, your failure was never final, it was formation. You had to fall to find your fire. You had to be rejected to be redirected. You had to be broken so your light could leak out. The cracks in your story are where your anointing shines brightest. There's a reason this message found you, because you've been whispering, "Lord, just give me a sign." And here it is, God says, "I'm writing your testimony." He's not editing your life with erasers. He's using ink, permanent blessings, permanent doors, permanent peace. You thought the delay meant denial, but he was scripting something eternal. And you can't give up now, not when your name is being mentioned in divine conversations. While you're worrying, someone's being instructed to bless you. While you're praying, someone's being convicted to remember you. Your miracle is already in motion. That's why everything around you has been shaking, not to break you, but to shift you into position. But here's the secret most people don't realize. Your next blessing won't come through who you expect. It'll come through a stranger, someone sent to fulfill a divine assignment. That's why God isolated you, so you'd recognize his hand, not theirs. He wants you to know the source of your elevation. Do you recall the story of Ruth? She lost her husband, her home, her sense of direction. Yet instead of giving up, she followed Naomi into unfamiliar territory. She didn't know that obedience would lead her to Boaz. Capricorn, your Boaz moment is near, not necessarily a person, but a destiny connection. Something that restores everything you thought you'd lost. You've been praying, "God, I'm ready," but God's been responding, "Then prove it." Because readiness isn't about saying yes, it's about surrendering what you can't control. The moment you stop trying to fix what's breaking you, you'll make room for what's meant to bless you. That's when miracles happen, not through striving, but through release. Now look closely at your life. The same people who walked away will soon reappear pretending to care. Don't open every door again. Some exits were divine protection. When God removes someone, it's because he heard conversations you didn't. Trust his rearrangement. Some of your greatest pain came from trying to keep what heaven was removing. There's a reason God hid your name from certain opportunities. He was protecting your favor from contamination. Everyone can't handle your glow-up. Everyone can't celebrate your calling. Some would have used your blessings as evidence against you. But now, your story is about to become undeniable. The same people who said, "You'll never make it," will have to say, "Only God could have done that." Remember Joseph, sold by his brothers, forgotten in prison, yet still elevated to the palace. The pain was the pathway, the betrayal was the bridge, the pit was the preparation. Every dark place you've endured was training for your throne. That's why the oil on your life feels heavy. It was crushed out of hardship. And something within you already knows this. You've been sensing that something big is coming, but you can't describe it. That's because your spirit recognizes what your eyes can't yet see. You're on the edge of manifestation, and heaven is silent right before it shouts. I need you to do this. If this word resonates, type "It's my glory time" in the comments. Speak it into existence. Declare it. The moment you do, you're activating alignment. Every time you engage, you're planting a seed into your future. Don't just scroll past. You're not here by accident. Every era of greatness begins with a whisper. You've been whispered about, doubted, overlooked. But soon, your name will echo in rooms you didn't enter. And when it does, remember, it wasn't luck. It was divine orchestration. The people who betrayed you weren't your enemies. They were your midwives. They pushed you into destiny. Every time someone lied about you, they unknowingly advertised your name. Every false rumor was a prophecy in disguise. You may not see it yet, but heaven is setting a table before you. Every lesson, every scar, every sleepless night has been building this moment. The pen is in God's hand now. He's writing the part of your story where you rise without warning. And while you're listening right now, something in your life is already shifting. Someone about to message you, an unexpected opportunity is about to call, a door you thought was closed is about to swing wide open. Stay expectant, stay humble, and stay ready. Because what's coming will silence everything that tried to break you. And when it arrives, you'll understand why every delay, every loss, every silence was divine setup for the unveiling of your glory.